What's happening, everyone? It is James, aka Barry White, because I've still got a bit of a sniffle, bit of a cold.
That's a long cold.
It's dragging on.
It's just gone on forever, isn't it? I mean, week after week, I still can't shake it. But hey, anyway, there we go. We are here at another Arcade Attack podcast, but this is no ordinary run-of-the-mill homegrown podcast. No, sir, no, madam. I've gone off the rails, Dill.
Go on.
I've decided to hand over a significant portion of power to none other than our amazing, gorgeous, brilliant patrons and followers.
Wow.
Okay, and I will tell you more in a moment. So how will it work? I hear you shriek.
How will it work?
More or less it.
It can't be
possible. That was nearly your Leon impression.
Leon,
Help, Leon, help. So I decided that we needed some more head-to-head, balls-to-bones retro gaming matchups, which sees two similar games from the same genre, released around about the same time, pitched against each other. We're going to look at graphics, soundtrack, gameplay, artwork, other aspects as well as measuring up each game's Metacritic and review scores, along with stacks of input from our followers on our socials to help us choose. So, I hear you shriek. So, where do the patrons come in? Well, they are the gaming jury and judge and final
Execution.
Yeah. And will therefore have the final and ultimate say on the matter as to which of the two games takes the crown. Okay. So I can do as much stall setting as I like. You can do as much input and shout outs as you like, but
Smart to
ultimately,
us.
no. We can merely provide the setting and information. Yeah. As we do as the defense and the prosecution.
Yeah.
But those are our jobs. So I have enlisted the help of my co-host, who's with me, Adrian. What's up? For this one. And he's going to be my Richard Osman to my Alexander Armstrong, if you like. Even though I don't think he's on it anymore, but there we go. I think he's off doing his own things. So non-UK listeners, I can imagine you've got no idea what I'm talking about, but he's going to give us all the input that our followers and patrons have provided so we can see the full scope, the full landscape of opinion between the two games. And there's quite a bit there. People had a bit to say, didn't they?
Oh, yeah.
So before we go any further, it would be remiss of me to leave out the usual introductions. So we've of course got Dylan.
Hello.
How are you, sir?
I'm okay. My voice hurts from all the shrieking that you made me do.
Well, we can do some more of that if you like.
Right.
We of course have.
Hello. Good evening, sir. I'm good.
Excellent. Are you? Well, no, you haven't done any shrieking yet, have you? So
Not yet. No, my voice is ready. Should it be required?
Excellent. And of course, I've already mentioned the resident throw rug, Adrian.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm good, my friend. Yeah, I'm looking forward to these two games, which you haven't mentioned yet.
No, I haven't mentioned the games yet. So, but are we ready to get talking about a head-to-head for the ages?
Are you going to has this little segment got a little name? Or have you just kind of gone just...
This is the courtroom.
Okay.
This is the setting out the defence and prosecution. This is the one against two. Indeed. If you like, that's what we'll do. The virtual
think of something more catchy, but hey.
The virtual courtroom.
Keith's usually the one who comes up with the catchy.
I mean, the title for the pod is the gaming jury.
Gaming jury.
So there, make of that what you will.
All right.
I can tell. I've put here. I can tell the tension is palpable. It just isn't really, is it? But because I haven't mentioned the two games we're going to pit against each other. So despite sounding a little tongue-in-cheek, I have gone big with this one for the first episode of this format. They are both JRPGs.
Ooh.
They were released a year apart.
Ooh.
They were both developed by the same studio of sorts. I'll explain more. And they both have Goliath followings and are frequently mentioned among the best 16-bit RPGs of all time.
Interesting.
First up in the dock for cross-examination, we have, and a lot of people out there will know this, some won't, including our little old Dill over there who's never played it, but that's fine. Chrono Trigger from March of 1995 by Square Enix. Yes. Now, this already has an interesting sort of way in to our introductions here because it was headed up by a character and monster creator, Akira Toriyama, who created none other than what universe?
The Final Fantasy universe?
Thinking of something else? More pop culture? Very, very influential. Also has a trading card as well. No. The other one?
Digimon?
Dragon Ball.
Dragon Ball Z.
Dragon Ball.
Yeah. Sorry, I kind of gave away what the other game was a little bit.
That's all right. You haven't given anything.
Yeah, terrible.
And yeah, but that's normally my job, giving stuff.
That really is.
So,
Yeah.
and we had creative director Takashi Tokita, who I will come on to a bit later on. Now, it's important to point out that despite having a creative director and a character lead in the two guys that we just mentioned, there was no specific lead developer for this game.
Oh.
Instead, there was what they called a dream team of developers and designers that worked together at the same level to deliver the game. So who were these powerhouses of gaming, I hear you ask? And you will hear their names scattered throughout the pod. So we've got Akira Toriyama, as I mentioned. We've got Nobuo Uematsu. Remember that name because you will. Yuji Horii, Kazuhiko Aoki, and Hironobu Sakaguchi, who actually gave or conceived the game, shall we say, back in 1992. So a little time before it was actually released. And I'll come on to some more of those sort of names and what they've done a little bit later. So I could literally sit here all day about the sort of titans of the industry in that genre. But sadly, I have got a job to do in that I need to get into the guts of the title. So namely, of course, our first game in the dock, Chrono Trigger. So needless to say, you can go do some reading on this if you want, on the dev team and all of the stories at sort of Square Enix and their journeys and stuff like that, because there's some amazing sort of development stories and things in there. Now is not the time, but you can go away and read about it if you so wish. So the game, what year did we say? We said 1995.
Yeah.
It was by the team we've just mentioned. And let's be honest, it was amidst a sea of hot titles that year. Anyone remember any games from 95?
I know that it's one of the latter SNES games, wouldn't it be? So it's
Like Killer Instinct?
Well,
Yeah,
Donkey
Donkey Kong Country might be. Yeah.
Loads of. I mean, you've got Yoshi's Island, Rayman, Destruction Derby, Wipeout, Virtua Fighter 2.
Oh,
Yeah.
people would move on to the 3D games.
Yeah, 32-bit stuff.
Yes. So obviously, big games, big franchises, lots of interest. How did they kind of then hang on to this 16-bit RPG kind of genre? So it had some stiff competition, not just in the overall gaming market, but also within its own RPG genre. So Legend of Zelda games already had the masses yearning for more of that series, as well as we know. Zelda games, a mainstay across those years. But you also had some other games such as Ultima 7, Phantasy Star series, and Illusion of Gaia. And they were all jockeying for position on the top spot of the shelves of the early to mid 90s. So when Chrono Trigger came along, it needed to stand out to be successful. So I'm going to give you a little whistle-stop look at the story, the gameplay, the graphics, soundtrack, and also a bit of the critical and user reception as well. And it gives us a bit of an overall picture of the game. I'm going to do the same for our second game, and then Adrian here is going to give us our feedback from the followers and Patreons, and we're going to make a decision. We are going to make a decision. And it's going to come down to the wire, let me tell you that. So, the story. I've got to give you an abridged version, of course, because we haven't got all day and night, have we? Yeah. So, the story of Chrono Trigger in a nutshell, it actually centers around a small group of 7 playable characters. Chrono, Mal, Luca, Robo, should I say, sorry, Ayla, Frog Knight,
We like him.
and Magus, on an Earth-like planet. So there are 3 ages to the story. You've got a prehistoric age where dinosaurs and primitive humans share the planet. You've got a middle age filled with knights, monsters and magic. And then a post-apocalyptic age where humans and robots struggle to survive in a somewhat dystopian landscape. I'm not going to go on about the whole story because it is insanely in-depth.
It's crazy.
It's a big story, isn't it, Age? Not least because it's all about time travel and there's all different things going on at different times. So mine's a very abridged version. But if you're interested in it, you haven't played it and you want to read a little bit about it, do go and have a look because it's a great story. So do you remember when the story opens?
No, it's in the mid times, whatever that is.
Yeah, so 1000 AD is like basically for this universe is like right in the middle.
It's like is that like their present day then?
Yeah, for our character, it is. Yeah. And the main character Chrono and Mal go to the Millennial Fair in the Kingdom of Guardia, where they watch Luca and her father demonstrate a new teleporter. Mal decided to volunteer to test said teleporter, but runs into problems when the special pendant she wears around her neck interferes with the experiment and creates an unexpected time portal which draws her in. Which is kind of weird because you're going through this lovely sort of festival and then you see her disappear. And it's like, where's she gone? and nobody knows. She's literally just disappeared. So Chrono and Luca then scramble to recreate their own portal, which succeeds, and they find Marl in 600 AD, only to see her vanish before their eyes. So it's eventually revealed, spoiler alert, that it was not Marl they saw, but in fact a past royal relative of hers. This is due to the teleporter, Marl's pendant, and the recreation of the experiment causing a paradox, playing havoc with the very fabric of space and time.
Yeah.
So ultimately, the group find themselves in the distant future where humans have been all but eliminated, with the remaining pockets living underground, away from Lavos, a creature to which the destruction of the world is attributed. So the group basically decide that they've got to try and correct this from happening, and they've got to go back in time to fight against the evil forces that pave the way for Lavos's arrival and eventual destruction of the world. So throughout the story, different combinations of the group have got to find certain weapons, abilities, and artifacts to use at different points to eventually try and defeat Lavos. So the interesting aspect of the story is that the group are able to use a time machine they discovered. Now, this can take them to any time period, okay, which is something those games hadn't really kind of explored before. So
Very clever.
It was.
Yeah.
So this machine can be used to take on Lavos after a certain point in the story, but not necessarily at the natural end. So you can see where this is going. So this means that ambitious gamers often attempt the final boss fight being horribly underleveled and under-equipped, leading to a short and sharp defeat of their group. You've therefore been warned, people, if you try and
Because
do
you
it.
can try and finish the game very early, can't you?
You could try.
Yeah.
I've no doubt there are people that have probably done it.
Yeah.
And they've got, they've actually got away with it somehow.
Yeah.
But yeah, it requires you to kind of, it almost dangles the carrot. So you basically say, yes, you can, but like we said, should you or should you not? And then it kind of, I've gone on to say the story element's been used in a load of titles. So Dark Souls and Elden Ring, I mentioned it again. But I'm looking at you as it gives the player the option to fight extremely tough bosses earlier than a typical linear story would allow. So it therefore presents you with the old adage, as we've said a million times before, just because you can doesn't mean you should, or in this case could. And yeah, it's been used in a number of games where you've got really tough field bosses early in the game, and you go, yeah, come on, and you first playthrough, charge in, I'm dead within like one hit. He's one shot me, yeah. But obviously that makes it all the more delicious when you go back later on and you're super overpowered and you come back and just flatten the enemy. But that's the idea in here. So essentially it's not just a case of here's the line, here's the story, walk through it, we're going to hold your hand. It doesn't hold your hand, does it? You can jump to different times.
I find it a little bit, when I played it, James, I found it a little bit confusing knowing what time I had to be in at certain points.
Yes.
Like I guess that's part of the charm in a way, but it did get a little bit like, am I supposed to be with the dinosaur now, or am I supposed to be talking to the robots? And I got a little bit confused exactly what I had to do sometimes.
I don't think you're alone, to be fair. It was quite confusing, but I think that's part of the charm, because then as you learn the game and as you learn its little foibles and things like that, you can kind of play it your way as to necessarily having to play it in a very linear fashion. Yeah.
Yes.
So other characters make an appearance in this time traveling magic and monsters tale, such as Robo. You got Queen Lena, and Nadia, among lots of others as well. So 7 playable, but lots of other characters as well, NPCs, etc. And they all play their own key parts in the story. This is the most important part of just referencing what you were saying there, Age, was the story of Chrono Trigger actually has 12 possible endings.
Yeah.
12. Now that's impressive.
That's more than Clock Tower.
That is more
That had about 10, didn't it? Do you remember?
And then 12 hands on the clock. So, Clock Tower's just got it all wrong, really.
Oh, there you go. Revised edit. That's be in the remaster. Yeah. But yeah, you can essentially choose 12 different endings, whether you choose to defeat Lavos or in fact if you lose to him. But there are other kind of ways and means within that as well. But the unprecedented choice gives gamers not only ultimate control of how they play the game, but it provides ample opportunity for replayability as well. Right. So should you wish to attempt a different ending on another playthrough, you can. And if you're like Adrian, you can just get confused all over again.
Yeah, exactly.
In terms of how early did you fight Lavos then? Have you fought Lavos?
Yeah, he's probably a bit too early, because I probably fought him for about half an hour, and I was actually I was playing my Game Boy Advance, DS. I was playing my DS on the flight home from Turkey last year, and I was actually playing.
You're playing
And I was going to this big boss fight, and I was like, damn it, we've just landed, but I've got this boss to fight. And then I was like in the middle of it, and I just
Still on the plane, like, and it's
just stop the terminal. Everyone, please leave the plane. No, I've got to fight this guy. So yeah.
I mean, it's a super rich story, but yeah, 12 possible endings. There's literally something for everybody in there. Hugely in depth, of course, and I think a bit of a commentary as well on how society can kind of get depending on where they sort of decide to go. So quite quite a commentary as well, to be fair. Gameplay wise, no surprises on the face of it, that it's a turn-based 2D JRPG.
Yes.
As we kind of, even if you haven't really played much of them, you know how they kind of work, because it's a massive genre, both in retro terms, but also some newer titles have adopt that style as well and continue to do so. So players utilize characters and their abilities and the weapons, and they try and defeat various sized enemies ranging from like little small angry skeletons, and you've got big armor-clad knights, and you've got lots of like magic animals, wolves, like tree spirits and stuff like that. There's loads of enemies in there, depending on like where you are, whether you're in like a cave, a forest or something like that. So lots of variation. So these enemies can attack in groups or alone, and the feeling of sort of uncertainty about, what you're going to face around the next corner is part of the appeal, but that's a classic thing in any of the sort of JRPGs. So one key difference with Chrono Trigger is from other turn-based RPG games is that it doesn't just use the random enemy encounter system. Now Dill, you'll know, especially with this, with the Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
So just explain for those that don't know, like how
You'll just be wandering around on the field, and then like the screen will go whooshy, and they go down, 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 and then they basically go into a turn-based combat with stuff that you don't even know what it is until it kind of shows you what it is on the screen. But yeah, it's a little bit. I mean, it was annoying points.
It does wear a little bit thin at points, doesn't it? But
on like lower powered consoles, you can see why they did it like that. Obviously, later games on other like generations of consoles, you see the enemies moving around the map, and you move into them, and then obviously
That is one of the things that puts me off JRPGs, or this kind of era of JRPGs.
Yeah, random.
Because I've tried the random encounters, like you feel I just need to get from here to over there, and another one. Another one. Yeah. It was like when I first started trying to play Earthbound.
Yeah.
I kind of got stuck with that and then sort of stopped playing it because there was too many random
level up though. Just keep thinking about that.
I know.
Got to level up, Keith.
I know.
That is
The grind. I don't know. Yeah.
But it's funny you've just said that, there, actually, because the one of the key differences with Chrono Trigger at the time, was that you normally get go into a battle screen with a big whoosh.
Yeah.
And you get obviously the battle music. So Chrono Trigger actually shows the enemies on screen, and you have to walk into them and interact with them to be able to start a battle.
That's pretty good for a 16-bit game.
It is. So it's then fought. Now this is the difference. It's then fought on the same screen. So there is no whooshy side.
It just starts on the I'm trying to remember the couple of hours I played this game.
Yeah,
I'm just like trying to
So there are a couple of occasions when I think that does happen, and there are certain battle modes that does that. But generally, it's on the same sort of screen, and it just kind of like expands. There isn't like a completely separate side-on sort of battle view. So fights are turn-based, allow players to use physical attacks or magic to try and deplete their enemy's health bar to 0 before the same happens to them. So successfully defeating enemies drops items including potions, ether bottles, and that restores health and magic points of party members. So again, nothing sort of amazingly out of the ordinary, although Chrono Trigger does have, as I say, the sort of big plus point of being able to see the enemies and where they are. So you can avoid those enemies, but obviously in doing so, you're then cheating yourself potentially out of money, potions, power,
XP, man,
and all that package that goes with leveling up weapons and so on and so forth.
I just also, part of the game which I really liked is you could make your team. When you clicked your group of people, and you could strategize a bit, and certain people could join together with magic powers. And I've got a funny feeling you can have almost have up to 3 people join together. You can, if they come, certain combinations, they can do certain magics or spells and power-ups, and some of them are very clever how they work together. So you had to really think carefully about your team you chose.
Absolutely. And sometimes if you chose someone whose attacks weren't particularly effective against an enemy, you really shot yourself in the foot.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if you had like a water attack or something and you were fighting like a big water snail, or so, you're just going to give the enemy health.
Yeah.
So pretty useless. So the game boasts 80 different unique equipable weapons. Range. I mean, that's vast for a 16-bit RPG game. So you got katanas, bows, guns, swords, and even a character's fists. Robo, yeah, with his big old metal clumps. So this is in addition to the various spells and potions that can be used to buff attacks or defense, or to give a character a special ability during a battle. Can you remember any of the special attacks?
Lots of spinning around and things flying everywhere. I can't quite remember. It's been
Like the spin around and things fly around everywhere. That's great. Wow.
yeah.
There's a lot of spinning attacks. I think one of the earliest ones you'll probably remember is there's like a spinning fireball.
That's
that
right.
Chrono does.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It basically does this like ring of flame that then gets launched into the enemy, which is pretty like in early game. It's like stupidly overpowered as well.
Yes.
And then obviously later on it starts to fall off quite a bit. So from a player's perspective, the whole host of options available throughout the playthrough, depending on your style and the masses of weapons and spell combinations. It basically means that you're not really going to have the same sort of playthrough twice.
No.
Which, when you think about it, for a 16-bit console, that's quite nuts. They've made it anything but linear. So on top of all of that, the player then has a choice, as Adrian was saying, to switch out team members from the 7 playable characters in the game. So not all are available from the outset, but as you progress, having the option makes tougher boss fights a little bit less stressful. Again, it really depends on who you choose, because some have, you can outfit different characters, can't you, with different abilities and stuff like that. So you really do have a control over the choice, and that does make a big difference in fights. So yeah, the graphics then, what does it look like? So we know a little bit about story and gameplay. What does it actually look like? So Chrono Trigger boasts obviously the beloved 2D 16-bit framework, which many of us now would kind of take for granted, but let's be honest, we love that kind of look. I love it. But, tons and tons of games have been released like that. But at the time, Chrono Trigger boasted bright, vivid colours, varied and detailed characters, and bold environments as well. Some of the environments on there, just give us an idea, like some of the backdrops that you get on there.
It reminds me a little bit like Zelda, like Link to the Past. Lovely bright colours, lovely pixel art, quite similar kind of scaled characters, same sort of view. But you've got like I said, sometimes it is like prehistoric, lovely lush green lands and whatnot, and forests. And then you've got those kind of almost space age, it's hard to explain, like marine levels and
so it's
post-apocalyptic.
It's not all the same.
No, and the medieval look as well, like drawbridges and beautiful castle areas. Again, the middle area looks like Zelda. Then you've got that lovely kind of prehistoric kind of bit as well, which is a bit different.
And there's also, like, because you walk through like a couple of forests, don't you?
That's right, yeah.
There's a couple of big forest areas, and it's like some of the like detail is
stunning.
It's a bit like you're not playing a SNES game. You're like,
it's a late SNES game. You can see how much they've got out of it. It's absolutely incredible. And I only played the DS version. I think that's a kind of a direct port, but it really pops.
I believe it is. Yeah, I believe it
really
is.
Pops.
But it's definitely a jewel in the crown in terms of graphics, because it looks just fantastic. So the graphics programmer we mentioned already was Yasuhiko Kamata. I've probably butchered your name. I do apologize. But he actually took inspiration from Ridley Scott's Alien movie, where a lot of the lighting was concerned. So decided to kind of use that the lighting in the film, and actually try to use that concept within the 16-bit environment, which is interested. So the Alien movies reach far and wide in terms of their influence. But in regards to the colouring, Kamata said that it laid somewhere between Secret of Mana. Anyone played that?
Secret of Mana.
Mana,
I know of it. I haven't played it.
And the first few Final Fantasy games. So the colour palette was kind of very comfortable between those two. And in actual fact, some of the features originally intended for use in Secret of Mana got transferred to Chrono Trigger.
That's
unlucky. So they were going to use it in that, and they thought, no, we're using Chrono Trigger instead. Some of the most striking graphics and colours in the game are showcased throughout the various time periods, which Adrian was saying. And that to be fair, only just adds to the kind of the fact that you've got a nice deep story, lots of characters, etc. So the strings on the bow are extensive, shall we say?
There's no weak links so far, in my opinion.
It's hard to see any, and especially with the fact that they've, you know, I think because we mentioned the dream team, it wasn't just a case you had a very headstrong, clever lead developer. You had several experienced, very active developers in all their departments, and it kind of shows. I don't envy the second game that I'm going to talk about.
Yeah.
So the music, Keith, but your zone here.
Go on.
The soundtrack's great, by the way.
I've heard good things.
So
Yeah.
despite having a rich, vibrant landscape of well-drawn characters and enemies, the jewel in the crown for Chrono Trigger for many people is the soundtrack. So designed primarily by Yasunori Mitsuda, with some contributions from the veteran Final Fantasy composer Nobuo Uematsu, the music of the game would become iconic, not just for players at the time, but for video game fans for decades after. And I pointed out a site, didn't I, to you, Keith?
Oh, I haven't checked it out yet. I need to. Yeah.
I'll show you that before we go, because I now cannot remember the name of it. I think it's KH Insider or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's I think it's one guy.
Oh, really?
Who's essentially done lots and lots of compilations of all of these video game, you know, and they're all, you know, it's all above board and they're all available to listen to and everything. I think there's probably a few that aren't available due to certain, you know, licensing or whatever.
Yeah.
But the full Chrono Trigger's on there. There's loads of other games on there as well. It'd be interesting to get your feedback because, you know, being an audiophile,
I need to give it a go. Yeah.
but yeah, it's. Put it this way, I think if you were playing the game at the time, you certainly wouldn't expect to hear that kind of music out of a SNES cartridge.
Yeah.
It just, you know, almost to the point where you'd be like, hang on a minute, it sounds a little bit odd.
Yeah. What's going on there?
So, you know, we'll see. But he did experience some difficulties, Mitsuda, at Square prior to composing for the Chrono Trigger soundtrack, and he even threatened to quit if his pay didn't go up. We've all been there, right? Thankfully, he stayed, and along with some other composers, there was actually one of the other developers, I think one of the graphics developers, they said to him, well, why don't you just like work harder? Or there was some quote or something, I can't remember which wrong. Just why don't you just like write more tracks or something? They said something really silly, and he was like, okay, I will, and then basically got the Chrono Trigger job, which is like, I don't know how that worked out, but there's literally a very simple quote. I can't remember exactly what it is, and he was basically just telling him to work harder. So thankfully he stayed, and along with the other composers, he developed a total of 163 tracks, including Guardia Millennial Fair, Lavos' theme, and of course the title track simply called Chrono Trigger. This number also includes, this is basically everything as well. So you get little short few second victory.
Yeah, like jingle type things. Yeah.
How's it go, Bill, in one of the Final Fantasy again?
Something like that. Something like the series. Yeah, but that's what they've got. But they did copy it. It sounds a lot like.
No.
Gravity do.
No, but that was a good example.
But those are bits of music that need to be composed.
That's
a
right.
person.
And, you know, it's all got to fit in. It's got to fit the brief.
And when in Zelda you open a chest, it goes
Has to be composed.
Sorry, one more time, Adrian, while I drink my water.
That was quite a good sound effect for James drinking his water.
See, you put a chest underwater in the temple.
Yeah. Oh dear. So that total number, as we've said, includes you know, all of the battle fanfares, entrance music for characters, brief jingles, and so on and so forth. But they all, of course, had to fit within the universe. You can't just have random tracks being sort of generated by random people, because it just wouldn't sound right. And that obviously then they were all required to reflect the current mood and setting, and all of which needed to fit on a SNES cartridge. No easy feat, in my opinion. The soundtrack is available to listen for free online, and a host of websites, although if you are a big fan of the game, nothing says audiophile quite like the limited edition 12-inch vinyl one can buy. Vinyls, I think, because there's so many tracks. Which you can get. No idea the price of them, but thanks to Adrian, I'm now starting a game soundtrack vinyl collection.
Oh yeah,
because he's bought me an absolute. I think it's 3 now.
I think so. Yeah,
amazing. amazing. More on that another time. But jewel in the crown, mate. But needless to say, the soundtrack is considered by many as good, if not better, than the game itself. And that's quite a high bar because the game is good. So we've talked about all of that. How did it actually land? What was talked about? What was, what were the things that people wanted to get off their chests in terms of reviews? Yeah. So I've taken a few. So Moby Games, good old Moby Game.
Yeah.
You like Moby Games, don't you, Jill?
Great site, yeah.
So 27,700 reviews, okay, for Chrono Trigger, and they have it at 8.6.
As an average of all those reviews, that is strong.
Which is quite strong. Yeah, 8.6. I mean, and let's be honest, that's a tough ask for, because gamers are picky.
Yep.
Especially JRPG gamers are very picky. We had a critic score. This was on actually Moby Games. So user score, was 27,500, 27.7, 8.6. The critics, funnily enough, on 110, this was 110 critics and writers, gave it 93%.
Wow.
So actually rated it significantly higher than users. But take from that what you will. Metacritic, on the other hand, user reviews had 1,100, just over 1,100, and was 9.2. So again, pretty bulletproof.
Yeah.
And exactly the same for critics, 92%.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, again, take from that what you will. Lots of other platforms have it over 90%, with your favourite IGN, Jill.
Oh, yeah, I love IGN.
They gave it 100%.
100%.
They gave it 100%.
No.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. But do you know what though? If it was any other game, I'd be like, yeah, you're talking rubbish. I can kind of see
Perfection.
Yeah, perfection. That wraps up our first game. Your Honour. Who should I talk to? Who's Your Honour? Dale, are you the judge?
No, you. I'm not. No.
To you out there.
Don't talk to God. You're talking on my upstairs neighbour.
Sorry, upstairs neighbour. So the pleasure of the court in the most concise form. There we go. So, but in all honesty, though, seriously, if you have not played it and you like your retro gaming in any way, shape, or form, 100% go and check it out, even if it's just for a few hours. Just kind of,
I'm not really an RPG fan. I've only really played a handful, and some have hooked me and some have not. Two have only really hooked me in my life, and one of them is Chrono Trigger. Excellent game. Amazing characters. I think that's part of it. I really connected.
Definitely.
All the characters have something different about them, different skills, and just that looks great. The other game, incidentally, is the other game you are not going to talk about, because it's Golden Sun. I had a lot of fun with Golden Sun as well. But they're the two real ones that really connected with me. So
Yeah, that's SNES game as well.
it's a Game Boy Advance.
Okay.
Golden Sun. Yeah, it's Game Boy Advance. Yeah.
And I think
Dino did a top 10 Game Boy Advance. You think it's a top 10.
Golden Sun's
So
great.
yeah. But regardless, if you like your retro gaming, I would even go double down on that and say if you're into your 16-bit, it's a must. If you never played it, it's an absolute must if you're into your 16-bit. And even Keith would like it because you don't get the random enemy encounters.
Yeah, I really should give it a go.
So and it just looks, sounds, and feels. It's so well done.
And there are rumours. The rumours that they're making a remaster or a remake of the game.
I believe so.
The rumours haven't been confirmed. Maybe when this comes out, it would have been, but that would be interesting. I think it'd be interested.
I think if you have to be careful. I think with how you do it. I think if it's done properly, then could be success. So game 2, what are we thinking? What could possibly
Chrono Cross?
Chrono Cross?
The sequel on the place, isn't it? Wasn't there a sequel?
PlayStation, isn't it?
Yeah.
There was, yeah. So now on to our next cross-examination. So this one is from a year earlier, 1994, to a 6th game in an already wildly popular series of titles from Square. Yes, lots of people probably know what it is. We're sticking with the same studio and some of the same creators of Chrono Trigger. Not all, but some, for our opposing game. What is it I hear you shriek? It's none other. Yeah, it's Final Fantasy VI. From 1994. And when I think it was. This is what sticks in my head. I mentioned it to Steve on a text, and I said to him, I'm thinking about this, and I mentioned, and he went, well, that's no comparison, is it? We know who's going to win that one. And I was like, hang on. Like, I didn't realize he was like so into his thing. Turned out he thought it was 7.
7.
Oh,
Okay.
I can't really be doing
So are you telling me the old 6-7 joke? When you... Oh, Jesus Christ. Still fun as 6-7. And it's a bit topical.
Topical brain rot.
No, don't do it.
Blame Steve, don't blame me.
If you want to know what we're going on about, we chat all sorts of stuff beyond the pod, which is when the mics don't go off after a podcast.
No,
and we
no,
talk all
it's
sorts of garbage and stuff and funny things. So if you want to hear it, jump on and for the
Patreon can hear the crap that we talk about
for less than a coffee.
For less than a coffee a month, guys.
And do keeps the lights on and keeps us talking rubbish.
Yeah. Can I ask you a little question? I know you're a massive FF7 fan.
Mm-hmm.
Was that your first Final Fantasy game? Or
Yeah. This was my second. I wanna pull up.
But that means the stories are all mixed up, man.
They don't continue. They're all their own stories.
Oh, you.
He's right.
I'm sure Dylan will reveal more in a minute. Is that fair?
We'll get some fun. I can't remember much about it, but I'm sure James will refresh my memory because
What on what?
on FF6.
Yes, I will. So another Goliath JRPG, of course, but this game has already seen huge success with its previous series titles. This was the first Final Fantasy game, though, not to be directed by the RPG genius Hironobu Sakaguchi. So Sakaguchi had essentially done all the Final Fantasy games up till this point, 5 of which, but he took a back seat on this one. So it was the first one that wasn't directly directed by him. So this was mainly due to his promotion to Executive VP of Square in 1991, which meant he couldn't commit to being so closely involved in game direction. Fair play. I mean, if you're being promoted to VP, I think you have got some other things on your plate. So he decided, he instead nominated the directorial responsibilities to Yoshihiro Kitase and Hiroyuki Ito, who were both charged with the game's event production and the battle systems. So 2 key areas, of course. So Sakaguchi still assumed a position as a producer on the title, but he stepped away from the day-to-day intimate running of the studio. So can't blame him, but there we go. And to be fair, if you think about it, and you had 5 successful games, that was probably a bit squeaky bum time, because you're stepping away from your baby, aren't you? And you're allowing somebody else to take the reins, which, as I think Adrian's discussed in many of his sort of countdown and top 25s and whatever, where we've done franchises and things, it hasn't always gone the right way, has it?
No,
because
one of the worst Monkey Island games was one of the latter ones, and one of the best Monkey Island games was the first one.
Yeah. There you go, prime example. And that's what happens when you, there we go.
Don't believe me? Check out a pod a few weeks ago.
There it is, check it out. So what's the game all about? So we've obviously heard about the Chrono Trigger story. So Final Fantasy VI sports a very different look to its predecessors due to it being set against a backdrop of military struggles and ever-expanding industry. There are far more mature themes included in the game as well, such as rebellion against dictatorships, the use of chemical weapons, and even teenage pregnancy.
Oh.
So there we go. A sort of very forward-thinking of a 16-bit game. So the new darker strands of the game naturally gained a lot of attention and some criticism, but that just simply fueled interest, of course. So unlike all of its previous entries in the series, Final Fantasy VI moves away from the medieval setting, and it sits firmly within a military-industrial frame where we see a coexistence of magic and machinery, bit steampunky, if you like. Yeah. I use the word steampunk because I think that's probably the best way to kind of describe it. If we know, for those that don't know steampunk, sort of visuals.
About punks that got steam all over them.
No,
it's very
kind of like vintage industrial,
like the cross between
with like futuristic machinery. And,
but with like old and
Victorian fashion and stuff as well mixed in.
I think there's a more better explanation.
Yeah, there is a more better explanation.
Some more bait. Just hit the nail on the head.
Chaos Engine.
Yeah, that's definitely steam.
But like that's very steam.
Yeah. It looks It's like how is everything powered? Oh, that's
steam.
Okay,
Steam.
There's
steam.
It's kind of big with meets Gears of War, isn't it? That sort of.
Yeah.
But see, Final Fantasy went more steampunk.
It is
later in the series.
Yeah.
They did. Was that
now? Final Fantasy 23 or something.
I don't even know. 15?
15 or 16.
15, yeah.
Right. I lost.
I don't even know, actually.
I lost the will for Final Fantasy a few years ago. But yeah.
Oh, please. Good to know. Please. Good to know. Thanks, Neil. So,
Chrono Trigger wins them. Or does it?
oh, does it? So the game world, titled The World of Balance, is split into 3 continents: Northern, Southern, and Eastern. Don't know what they did with Western. Maybe they ran out of time.
It's like Croydon. There's no North Croydon. There's no North Croydon. Just wait a minute.
And they've all got their own setting and plethora of dangers and obstacles, of course. Opera and the fine arts are referenced throughout the game, with a full sequence given to an opera, which has since been highlighted in reviews of the game and interviews with creators, because it was such an impactful section of the game. There's actually a whole opera, like a whole opera song or performance in the game, which is quite impressive. Unlike Chrono Trigger, we have 14 total playable characters, with the likes of Terra, who's a half-human, Locke, who's a treasure hunter, Celes, a former general of the Empire of, the general of the Empire, and we have Edgar, apparently a consummate womanizer.
Okay.
That's his handle. So there we go. Most of the list of characters have a serious grudge held against the ruling empire, especially Kefka Palazzo, one of the game's main antagonists. This is mainly because he was one of a group of experimental soldiers infused with magic who were called the Magitech Knights.
Can I just check though? There's no amphibious characters, I take it.
No amphibious character.
There you go then.
No Frog Knight, which is poor show, because he was on my top 10.
Got a vote from me as well, I think. A couple.
He got a shout. Yeah, he got a shout. The side effect from which, of course, with all this, has rendered Kefka basically insane, which is clearly visible throughout the game due to his odd nature. He's very he acts in very strange ways. So story-wise, much like Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy VI has a deep and expansive storyline. So for the benefit of all of us at our bedtimes at some point tonight, here comes a very, very abridged version, okay? And again, it's important to point out that these are expansive storylines, okay? So do go away and have a read if you so wish. So the bulk of the story is a rebellion against the sitting empire and Emperor Gestal and General Kefka because of their over-reliance and use of magic and espers to dominate society. Now, these espers are like magical beings that have been kind of encased in this crystal, and they can kind of, if you unlock them, you basically obtain their power and skill. Yeah. Sure. So Terra, Locke, Edgar, and others, they call themselves the Returners, or rebels, if you like, to us. And they're the ones who decide to fight back against this regime. They use these espers for positive, and their magic against the Empire. Spoiler alert, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't played it, you've been warned. Turn it off now, go play it, come back. General Kefka betrays the Emperor and he seizes power, essentially causing an apocalypse in the process and turning the planet into the world of ruin. Not good. That's a hell of a fight, isn't it? This new landscape then becomes the backdrop for the second half of the game, and our characters find themselves scattered and somewhat hopeless. But they decide to try and reunite and work together to take down the godlike tyrant Kefka, who's basically sort of become a lot more emboldened from his dethroning of the Emperor. He's now sort of super powerful, kind of a Bioshock Atlas type dude, if you like, almost insurmountable, yeah? And he's become more powerful than ever. So essentially that is the really thinly veiled version of, there's a huge amount more to it than that, but there's all the characters obviously got all their own little backstories, and the second half of the game is essentially all about how they then regroup, how they reunite, how they come together, and essentially go on and eventually defeat Kefka. Great name, isn't it? Kefka Palazzo. It's a great Kefka. Ooh, that's almost like an advert in there somewhere, isn't it? I didn't think we had ads on this podcast.
Sponsored Kefka.
We don't even know what that's a shampoo or something. So yeah, if you want to delve into the world of Final Fantasy VI, go and play it. It's probably available on any sort of emulators anywhere, I'd imagine, isn't it?
Or it's a SNES game, wasn't it?
It is a SNES.
And what else was SNES?
But
SNES initially.
yes, because I own the PlayStation 1 version.
Wow. And is it the same graphics?
Yeah. I was thinking, right? So it was, I can't remember when it was released. I think possibly after Final Fantasy VIII.
or it was kind of like it was in a hole where I really wanted more Final Fantasy. And then when I was like, they're re-releasing, I thought they were remaking it. No, it was basically just an almost direct port with a few like more cutscenes.
That's what the DS version is. A direct port.
Yeah,
Cutscenes added.
that is it basically. So that is what ended up as the PlayStation 1 version, which I owned. I only played it a couple of hours, to be honest with you. It was good in a way because you saw where the roots of FF7 kind of came in, and you're like, oh yeah, okay, this is where this was going. But yeah, that's about all my experience with that game.
Interesting. But yeah, just for purposes of obviously side by side, they both were initially released on the SNES.
Yep.
But have had, of course, like with a lot of popular games, have had offshoots and
there's rumours
ports
that they're not remaking it.
Yeah. So gameplay then, had a bit of the story. So with the gameplay, a lot more familiar, as we've kind of said, with the elements with Chrono Trigger, but of course, more faithful to the whole Final Fantasy franchise. This is because it uses the free roam mechanic with surprise attacks when hitting certain bits of ground or areas. Keith loves. This then causes the screen to whoosh into a side view of the battlefield, and the players can then cast their magic, use weapons, and consume potions to try and defeat the enemy in front of them. It does have something slightly different. It's got something called active time battle, which was first used in Final Fantasy 4, Final Fantasy 4, and that determines a character's speed of recovery after commencing an attack. So they've specifically named it that for that. I think Chrono Trigger had the same thing, but I don't think they called it. I don't think they called it active time battle specifically, but I think they used that general idea. But they called it that anyway. So although the look and feel of this and Chrono Trigger are similar in a lot of ways, some of the mechanics do vary. And obviously the main one being the enemy encounters. One you can avoid. Obviously that's your choice. You've then got the choice whether to have the fight and get the stuff or not. Whereas in Final Fantasy 6, of course, you haven't got a choice to avoid the battle unless you die, which is no good because that'll be game over. So characters travel across an overworld map between dungeons, cities, and other points of interest, and they can do so in 3 ways. How do you think they do it?
Like in Diddy Kong, land, air, or water. You get go-karts, cars.
Funnily enough, no.
Oh.
So by foot. What else? Deal was
By air.
By air in an airship? Yes.
Airship, the little airship thing.
And if you remember back to one of the pods that we did, I think it's Games in Games. What was my favourite thing I used to do that
they go by Chocobo.
The Chocobo.
Keith loves the Chocobo.
You can go by Chocobo. So I lost a portion of my life to Chocobo racing.
Games. Yeah.
Yeah, good pod that if you want to.
Remember we asked, is there a game within a game within a game, didn't we? That was,
Gameception.
Gameception, yeah.
Oh, you're on the pod. There you go. So, by foot, by airship, well done, Deal, or by Chocobo, okay? With a few exceptions to do with the story plot points, the enemies are randomly encountered when travelling, where battle commences and players must be ready to fight. As the game progresses, more dungeons, caves, buildings and forests are accessible, and a variety of enemies, puzzles and high-level loot not available to buy in any of the stores are then available. So this does kind of get you to switch on the whole Brave switch, because you don't have to go in the caves necessarily. You don't have to take on the harder enemies, but of course the high level loot is being guarded by those sort of high level bosses and enemies and stuff. So again, you have a choice. You can limp through the game, being scared all the time, and not fighting the bosses. It just reminds me so much of the Souls type games. Bringing it into the modern era, it just shows you the impact, because you've got the choice in any of those games to wander past whatever you like. You can walk, you can stealth your way through everything, but you ain't going to get anywhere because you're going to get no level ups, no better weapons, no better magic. And this is kind of where it sort of laid that choice down for you, which is interesting. So it doesn't force feed you. It basically lays the choice on the table, and you can kind of walk through the door you want to walk through. So question is, are you going to be brave, Keith? No. I'm not going in the cave. Cave. No. So outside of battle, players have the opportunity to customize weapons and loadouts depending on the type of damage they want to inflict. Using items called relics, players can suit up their characters in a variety of armor and spells, and even teach magical capabilities to the characters who begin the game with no knowledge of magic at all, using magicite shards. And those are the things that basically encase the espers. Remember I said about the espers? So yeah, these shards also contain powerful summons that are synonymous with the game series, with names such as, do you remember any of the summons from Final Fantasy VII, Dill?
Loads of them.
Yeah,
all
so
of them.
name some of the kind of like mainstays, the basic ones.
Like Ifrit, Odin,
Yeah.
Shiva.
Yeah.
The elemental ones are obviously like commonplace. Leviathan, maybe.
So we've got Shiva, we've got Odin, we've got Bahamut.
Neo Bahamut.
Bahamut Zero.
Bahamut Zero.
Is that the one from space?
Adrian's like, no, Adrian's.
Huh? Can we talk about frogs again? Here they know what we're talking about.
Oh, bruv. If only he knew about Neo Bahamut.
Or Neo, is it Bahamut Zero?
Yeah, Bahamut Zero. Yeah, man.
Oh man. Anyway, back to the Final Fantasy basically, Square Enix basically used these kind of recurring summons, as it were. There probably will be a few people out there who recognise those names and those surprises. So you choose a team, weapons, armor, spells, and summons. It's basically, if you think about it, it's almost like an entire mini game in itself, because you've got all this customization, you've got all of this stuff that you can go after, and then it just makes you want to kind of go to the places you haven't explored yet and stuff like that, because you're like, I need to get a high level weapon, or I need to level up my magic, or I need to find, again, come back to 7, talk about materia, stuff like that, and you're always looking for the next big thing, aren't you?
Yeah.
And it just makes, say again?
It's addictive more than anything.
It really is, and it just makes you want to keep pushing on in the game, and really sort of get those higher level weapons and loot. So, have any of you guys played Final Fantasy VI?
Yeah, it has.
Just give us your take.
It's like a simpler Final Fantasy VII. Yeah. That's in a nutshell. It's like, it's not enough. Well, it's probably just enough to satiate FF7 fans back in those days. Whether you'd want to play it if you weren't a fan of Chrono Trigger or the SNES ones, I don't know.
Interesting.
To be honest with you, I don't know if you'd want to actually go check it out. But do. But yeah, it is like obviously the turn-based thing and the selecting your magic and blah, blah, blah. If you like that kind of thing, yeah. And yeah, I didn't find the story as involved as FF7. I felt like their storytelling got better, I think, through the series. So
I mean, they had 7 games to perfect it.
I know, but it wasn't. Yeah, I wasn't as sucked in by it. But yeah,
that's a fair observation.
If you play the version with all the fancy like FMV sequences and that, then you can enjoy it. But it doesn't really. Yeah,
I think if you were playing Final Fantasy from the start, 1, 2, 3, etc., I think you would have seen like quite a leap forward. To 6 because of the expanse of the story, the amount of playable characters, the customization, which is massive, etc., etc. And on that note, also the soundtrack. And this one is as impressive, if not more so, than Chrono Trigger.
Wow.
Not my words.
Okay.
Not my words. The gaming community's words. So the soundtrack for Final Fantasy VI was composed by veteran Final Fantasy maestro Nobuo Uematsu, who I've mentioned a couple of times, who contributed also to the Chrono Trigger soundtrack as well, only in a sort of a minor capacity, as we've discussed. But each character has their own themes, along with themes like location, of course, the iconic battle music, and character entries, enemy entries, that sort of stuff as well. So the music of the game is held in extremely high regard due to the fact that it features a varied tempo, several different genres of track, including opera, as we've mentioned. There's actually a section of the game where an opera performance is taking place, and the game needs, obviously, the music to reflect that. So Uematsu came up with the track Aria di Mezzo Carretera, which actually translates, or Google tells me anyway, middle character air. I'd take from that what you will. And that had, over the top of the track, was a synthesized voice, which basically wasn't speaking any kind of discernible words, but it sounded obviously
Sounded
as
like
human as he could, over this operatic background. Which was there? I mean, I'll go to Keith on this one. Is there any other, like, I'm just thinking soundtrack wise, is there any other like 16-bit that successfully input human voice properly onto a backing track?
Oh, no. I wouldn't have thought so.
Probably too much, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to, I can't think of anything. But I mean, yeah, he basically wrote this entire opera track, which is impressive in itself.
Yes.
He's a video game.
Yeah.
He's a video game sound designer, and he's come up with an opera track. And yeah, has basically sat there and gone, we can't have a real voice. What do we do? But he's basically synthesized this. Yeah, he's synthesized this human voice. And it sounds it sounds human, but it doesn't. You can't make out. If that makes sense. So apparently, at the time, they were using a sound format called SPC 700. I don't know.
That's how you say our podcast, isn't it? And that's the format you use, isn't it?
SPCC. What?
There's a
PC 700.
what was that piece? That Japanese PC you were saying about?
Pounds.
Yeah, that's the one. But yeah, any sort of serious gaming audio files out there, tell us what an SPC 700 sound format is. But apparently it had its limitations, and it couldn't put a human voice. However, side note, a full operatic version featuring real singers and an orchestra appears in the re-release that was on the PS1 version.
Isn't that the difference?
And although we're sticking primarily to the SNES versions of each game, which we should be doing, of course, I had to do a little hat tip to that. I had to listen to it. It's bonkers. I'm not a huge opera fan. What? I'm a music fan, but I'm not hugely into opera. But I do really respect the fact that you have a video game music designer that has written an opera track, and then in the next breath goes and writes a battle music. It is really impressive, to be honest. So in total, Uematsu composed 61 tracks for the game, which was among at the time the most comprehensive of any 16-bit game until Chrono Trigger, obviously. The soundtrack was released on 3 CDs in Japan, with a slightly different collection released in North America. It went on to have tracks featured on other albums, and series spawned, including a complete piano edition. So you can listen to a piano edition if you so wish. And if you love your gaming soundtracks and have not yet checked it out, it is by many considered to be a masterpiece. So there we go. The music almost once again stealing the limelight from the game. So what did reviewers and critics say about it? Back to Moby Games again. 9.1 on a very similar 27,500 reviews. So probably the same people making the review, but a 9.1%. So in fact, 8.6 from the users from Moby on Chrono.
Yeah, so it beats Chrono on that.
It does by 0.5%. The critics had it. Now this is interesting. The critics only had it at 88.
Ooh.
And now bearing in mind that's the complete flip reverse of the Chrono Trigger, which was the users had it lower than the critics. Metacritic had this one only had about 600 user reviews, and it was 8.4, but the critics had it at 92% on 25. Other platforms consistently sort of around the 90% mark. A good old IGN 90%. So they didn't like it as much as which is
10% less.
yeah, which is perfection apparently. That is essentially an extremely abridged version of the 2 games for your attention and consideration. So what we need to do now,
Who's the best?
and as far as I'm concerned, this is the most important part. So we've given you a rundown of both games, okay, the elements of those games. So the first section we're going to do, Adrian's going to do is from the followers, and then we'll kind of go from there. So what have you got for us, Adrian?
Yeah, we chucked it out on a few Facebook groups. Ones I don't own, sadly, really.
Well, he's
He's not the boss.
No. But these different comments have come through. So we've got Kame Adams. FF6 has more variety in characters. Easy choice.
Oh,
strong start.
Davanti Zephys. Even shorter answer. Chrono Trigger. Full stop.
That's it. That's just
did he type before start, boy? He just put this.
Bob Brogan. If we can't trust Bob's opinion, who can we trust?
That's a trustworthy name, Bob Program.
Both are very good, but I would go with CT. There you go. You save a bit of time there.
CT.
Doesn't wear out his keyboard. It's just a very consistent product.
Ooh.
6 Endgame is more ambitious. Didn't you see FF6? Just 6. Endgame is more ambitious, but I have some complaints that I just don't have with CT. What are these complaints, Bob? We don't know.
He's never waste time typing it, mate.
The Britman. He says FF6 has the better storyline, but CT has the best battle system.
I think that's the Birdman.
Oh, he's the first. Yeah, the
Birdman. That's his name. It's Dan Bird.
He was the
Birdman.
that level Y. That's why it confused me.
Ah, right.
Mose Giabaldi. Yeah. Gary Baldy. I'll take FF6 over pretty much any other RPG.
Ooh.
Yeah. Anthony Burton. Chrono Trigger is a great game, but FF6 is a masterpiece. Clinton McGee. Sounds like a good name, isn't it? Clinton McGee. CT is the better of the two. FF6 is just an okay game overall. Did you change it to these just the letters, or
That's how they typed it in.
that's
Probably typed it, yeah.
Forrest Edmund Perron. As much as everyone loves FF6, CT just beats it. It stands the test of time due to how good it is then and now. It's lightning in a bottle for real.
Like for real. For real.
Literally like for real.
FR.
Alan Hames, he's got some depth here. While there are clear cases one can make for either of these two, when it comes to a writing or gameplay preference, I would say overall CT for what it laid out going forward for gaming, being the first game to ever implement New Game Plus features in the more proper form that has since become more standardized in gaming. It really can't be understated just how much that has impacted the game's replayability with how the feature has evolved over the years. And on X, we've got good old DTC, no F's given, so you can trust him.
No F's given.
It's CT for me. It's the RPG that rightfully got me into the turn-based games. The soundtrack was flawless, and the end theme was pure childhood, in-your-feels good shiz. That, and it was characters designed by my favourite.
No else given. Good shiz.
Good shiz.
What? Who was that?
And he says, anyway, and some of the characters were designed by one of my favourite manga artists. He says, R.I.P. Akira Toriyama. Yeah, I think you mentioned him. He said, in brackets, passed away in 2024. So
he did.
Rest in peace, Akira. Those who had a crisis decided and sat on the fence. We had Wayne Matthews Shepardson. He just said both with an exclamation mark.
Yeah, I mean, for a poll that's specific,
One or the other. Both.
And
the other one's wicked. This one,
Enrique Valentini. Why are you making me choose between two of my favourite children? You know,
Two of my favourite children. Do you think he's crying in the shower right now? I'm just like, Enrique.
I thought it was his first 6 children. Final Fantasy 1. I also put it on a group. Again, I put it on a group called, where is it? JRP fans only, and in brackets, Japanese role-playing games, just in case you didn't know. And I quickly said, which game is better, Chrono Trigger or Final Fantasy 6, the Ultimate SNES Showdown?
Nice.
Well, do you have a guess? The polls
I reckon they mostly said Chrono Trigger.
Yeah. Well, Final Fantasy 7 got 81 votes.
Final Fantasy 7?
6. Just tucking your toe.
Yeah, you know, in a Steve moment there, didn't you?
Final Fantasy 6 got 47% of the votes, and just pipping it with 52% with 88 votes.
Or 53%.
Chrono Trigger. And actually, I voted for Chrono Trigger, so I sort of helped skew the results a bit there. I'm a bad boy. Sorry, James.
You're the bad boy of retro gaming.
But there's the deciding vote here. We asked all of our hundreds and thousands of Patreons come back with what they thought was the most important game. And
Who responded?
one person.
So is this the verdict?
This is the verdict.
This is the verdict.
Now, to be fair, I will add a small caveat to that. Because this is so close,
Yeah.
I'm prepared to let this slide
Okay.
and I think it was Brian, wasn't it?
It is.
Let Brian have the final say.
All right.
It is so close.
All right, Brian, let's see what you
Okay, let's say which game is Brian a fan of?
You said
to be fair, he actually gives quite, if I remember correctly, quite a balanced answer.
Well,
So
he basically said, "What are you making?"
Stop crying in the shower, Brian.
He says though, truly the Sophie's choice of the 16-bit era.
Wow. Good Lord.
He's written that.
Good Lord.
I'm inclined towards Chrono Trigger simply because it was the first of the two that I played, and I have a very fond memories associated with it. The variety of the environments in the different time periods and the double tech attacks definitely helped it stand out in the genre to me. I've replayed both of them several times, and as much as I adore FF6, Chrono Trigger would be my desert island pick if I had to go with one. Now, we're not asking for desert island pick, so this vote is void.
I like it.
I'm loving.
No, you know what? I like that Brian has now put that in his lexicon, and he's offering up a desert island choice. I'll take it. So that's his first one. If you can get 4 more to us somehow in the next year, Brian, that's a whole episode.
I mean, that the overriding thing is that the choice is so close, because that poll shows you there, right? And that wasn't just like 10 votes, was it? That was quite a few more.
Oh yeah, 160 or 170 maybe.
To be fair, I mean, that's not bad. And the fact that it was what, 4 or 5% in it, something
So
like
Chrono Trigger is a worthy winner.
So I would certainly say so. I mean, the fact is,
I just rhymed it, kind of.
oh, nice. The fact is, you could sit on either camp and be quite comfortable in the fact that you could set your stall out and go, "This is an amazing game." I personally choose Chrono Trigger only because it was, I would say, up against it in terms of a pretty big machine that was the Final Fantasy kind of wagon, because that was already seriously popular by the time they got to number 6. And obviously in number 4 and 5, they'd already developed that kind of really well-known sort of look, feel, world, backdrop, weapons, monsters, all that sort of stuff. So to then create something that stood out from that, and it wasn't just, oh, it's a copy, oh, it's just some, game that's trying to do Final Fantasy. Nobody sees it as a Final Fantasy clone. They see it as its own game. And I don't think that was an easy feat. So, and also, but either would kind of suffice, wouldn't it?
No, for me it's Chrono Trigger, full stop. So
yeah. I think, yeah. I think Brian's chosen well, and the fact that he's put the desert island thing in there as well is
Nice.
made Dylan.
Proud for Dylan.
Yeah, nice.
But yeah, Keith, I know you're not overly enamoured, but
Keith's like, stop talking to me about JR. No. Hold on, play some Resident on the Wii.
but I dip in if you get a chance.
I should get, I've heard nothing but good things about Chrono Trigger, so I really
the one
should.
I would try.
Yeah,
because of course
especially as I can avoid the random battles.
you can avoid the random battles, but then you got to be.
I don't know I won't get anywhere, but
Well,
at least I won't get annoyed by random
at least you'll be safe. I'll be safe. But yeah, you can choose your battles. But I'd definitely give it dip in and give it a go. But look, that is what I tell you what would be really good, Dill, is if we move forward with this kind of format, it'd be really good if we could get then the patrons actually deciding sort of head to heads.
Why not?
Because then obviously you can get fully involved and we can kind of have grudge matches up against, game versus game.
Soul versus Sonic, we can finally work out.
There you go. And
Well, let's not go
too carried away.
Yeah.
but yeah, we could do that. So if the format kind of works and you guys like it and you think, right, I've got one that's just going to be absolute gold.
Yeah.
Get yourself signed up. And that you'll also have the casting votes. I would like to see.
Why don't we spitball more ideas for this in our Beyond the Pod?
Beyond the Pod.
Everyone can listen to if they flick to our Patreon channel.
Definitely. And we'll get some more ideas out. And if you fancy it, if you fancy being part of it, sign up. Have a look what it's all about.
Yeah.
And but yeah, how'd you find that, chaps? How was that for a first installment, a fledgling installment?
It was good.
We're like learning.
Yeah.
Game versus game. Great stuff. Listen, if you guys out there, if you want to sort of have your say, if you haven't actually said anything on our polls or anything like that, do as we say, tag us on the socials, all of the socials, listen to the pod on all of the pod platforms. And if you really want to get involved, sign up to the Patreon as well. And you can have even more of a say. And you could also listen to all the gobbledygook we're about to come out with after we turn the mics off, aren't we? So on that bombshell, back to the studio to coin a phrase. And until the next time, till the next pod, take care of yourselves.